Hello and welcome to another edition of Meet the Candidates. I'm Randy Holhut from the Commons, Windham County's independent source for news and views. And today's candidate is Emily Peyton, who's running for the third time for governor, this time for the Liberty Union Party. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you, Randy. May we back up and say that I'm standing for office, and in honor of Peter Diamondstone's memory, we will qualify what I'm doing as standing for office.
And he was always a stickler for that.
He was, and I am too. I mean, there is so many war references, campaigning, running, racing. It's a very competitive environment that I'm standing for a little bit of a difference.
Is that why? Did you reach out to Liberty Union, or did Liberty Union reach out to you for their nomination for governor?
No, it was a very funny story. I ran in 2010, 2012, and 2014.
Well, 2010 as an independent, 2014 as a Republican.
2012 as an independent.
Yeah.
2014, the Republicans had no one. So I went in there. I have a lot of respect for Ron Paul, so it's a stretch on either side for me, really. But and then what happened was Scott Milne just stole the media's heart, and so I retired, sort of sadly. And I've been thinking about how to fulfill my passion to inspire people for transformation. And I was reading Gloria Steinem in bed. It was Saturday night. I thought the train had left the station for this election, And I was thinking, well, after the election, maybe I'll go out in this little mini school bus I have, which I've painted rainbow, and start going door to door and talking to people about how we can transform our political systems and what means we have, and hopefully giving them some courage and ideas. And then it was 9:30 at night on a Saturday night, and I get a phone call, and it's Ralph. Who's Ralph? He says, come up to the White River tomorrow. It's a Liberty Union nominating party. And dang it, boom, the next day, I wasn't a gubernatorial candidate. No signatures, no fuss, no muss. Talk about a difference a day can make. And I thought, geez, this must be the kick in the butt that I needed. And of course, Peter had invited me at least 2 out of the 3 times to be the gubernatorial candidate, and I was stupid not to take it, particularly in the last one. But I needed to see his example, I think.
Well, considering has left us with a huge pair of shoes to fill, and on every front, and the Liberty Union Party kind of moving on to not just be the party of Diamondstone, but the party of a whole new generation of candidates, and also to kind of remind people what those words are. Liberty Union. We've heard that so long and associated with Peter, but we don't often know what those words mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've written it on one of my cards, and I'll do it verbatim. And so, just as its name suggests, the Liberty Union Party exists to enhance base freedoms of our society to improve our societal union. Liberty Unionism is an approach that trusts the people and supports peaceful people of all walks of life in their ability to know what is best, and to include you in a formative and horizontal manner. So that is what it means to me, anyway.
And that certainly informs the priorities that you have as a candidate. The things you believe in, the things you've kind of always believed in. So I guess that leads us to the question of what would be your top priorities coming up in the next biennium, should you be elected?
Well, I would like your vote to do this, and this is what I want to do. I want to use a metaphor here. Let's think of our governments, in statewide and national, as a house, an old house. And it's got lead, it's got mold, it's got termites, it's crumbling.
It's a fixer-upper.
It's a fixer-upper at least, and my position is that we need to transform it. And so where we are at right now is, in the past, when you really got to the place where you couldn't stand where you're living in terms of this metaphor, that you'd blow it up in a revolution, and everybody would scatter and it would be a mess. So instead, what I propose is that we begin discussions of what we want to transform to. We don't, like when you want to move out of a house, you look where you're going to. You decide whether you're going to build. You decide what parts of the old house come with you, the piano. I mean, what parts of our Constitution, what parts of what we have are very useful, and what parts are working and what parts aren't. So if I were elected, and I would begin those discussions while working within the paradigm that we have. And primarily, if you want to hear an overview of what I'm interested in doing, is I'm interested in economic and monetary policy that will allow our economy to become a nurturing one. And I sense this is what we as a people really crave, is a nurturing economy.
Since it hasn't been too nurturing of late, and people seem to be more receptive to the ideas of alternatives to capitalism, and that the things that you talk about developing a different sort of economy for Vermont, and Vermont being in the perfect position to develop a different economy that could lead to, that could be an example for the rest of the country.
I agree.
So what like the example you give in one of the questionnaires you filled out for the ACLU, they're asking about the prison population, which is considerable in Vermont, especially in proportion to the population, and particularly the population of the people of color in the state. And too many of Vermonters shipped out to prisons that are substandard. Too many people are in the system. Too many are, and your vision of is something different. It sounds like a VOTEC school for people who need to get their lives together, and using prisoners to run the institution, but not in a punitive way of paying a penny a day to do the prison laundry or something like that, but actually teaching skills.
Yeah, I would encourage people to go to my website, which isn't emilypeyton.com. It's mpeyton, EMPEYTON, to sort of look at the details there. But you touched upon one of the ways that many people may feel, and I certainly feel, that the Congress and government has behaved in a treasonous way against the people. We have the 13th Amendment, which prohibits slavery,
Except if you're in prison.
Oh, well.
And that's the sticking point, and that's why we're seeing the prison strikes around the country and the uprising.
Gee, I didn't know that little small part.
That's the small part.
But it's I think also that we have a constitution that was written by European men and women in particular, and our concepts, such as forgiveness, nurturing, creativity, are not included in the foundation of our laws. And until we have a balance of male-female concepts, that we won't have a balanced outcome. So, I think a woman might say, all people were children, all people have the right to be here on this earth, and all people need to be cared for. So certainly I believe that it's a gross abuse of people to give them $1 a day for work. It amounts to enslavement. And also that to lock people up who aren't violent is an absurd way to expect them to come out better, and that we're throwing away so much money on that that we could be better using to help them gain skills that will give them the self-esteem and the self-sufficiency that they have. They're coming out and being a burden on us again because they can't get jobs, they can't take care of themselves in the way the economic system has placed them as felons.
Well, kind of forgetting that the whole point of or what prison used to be, which was rehabilitation, because any of the people who work with those involved with the system say, sooner or later they got to come home, and they're going to be back in your neighborhood. And what then? Mm-hmm. How do you take care of them? How will they be taken care of? How will they be reintegrated into society?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and the penal system has been so unfairly applied as a class divider. I mean, the 2008 financial crisis, and that was murderous to people. They may not have literally gone out and murdered, but they did literally murder people with the crash of the markets. People who couldn't get to their doctor, were kicked out of homes, and nobody went to prison. And so we've got a lot of work to do to collaborate together on methods that I believe ultimately will lead to a safer society.
Because that seems to be a problem right now, is that fear. Mm-hmm. Fear of everything. Mm-hmm. And there are the unscrupulous in our political system that like to use fear as a tool mm-hmm. of control, a tool to get elected. And you seem to with your ideas of compassion and creativity, try to just block that fear and push things toward a different path.
Well, I think I've had the benefit of at least one near-death experience. And I think that people have been manipulated with the fear of death. And so my understanding of my existence isn't that it's, born in death and I'm done. I have a sort of broader experience of, source intelligence and stuff. And I think that helps me immensely. I do have my own triggers. I was brought up with 5 women in a woman's household, so entering into the men's world is a little bit of it's with a bit of trepidation that I do that.
but as we're seeing this year, we're seeing a record number of women running for public office mm-hmm. at all levels mm-hmm. and winning. Mm-hmm. And it's time.
Thank you.
Maybe or time to see the script flipped, and it doesn't seem so unusual anymore.
Well, I think that's a very that leads to hopefully an interesting idea that the models that women have are male models in leadership, historically, forever. And we are feeling the need to balance out things, as I said, and some of us have had to sort of imitate the male competitiveness to be part of that. And I really don't have much of a competitive bone in my body. I'm somebody who's way too generous. It's not what I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in collaborating. I'm interested in inspiring people to step into their personal authority, to get some ideas. Of course I'd like your vote. Of course I'd like to work to begin this transformation. I'm ready. But I just don't believe that we need any more enforced competition or enforced scarcity of money. We haven't even talked about money, but...
Well, I think of one of the successful candidates in Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley, who just won the congressional seat in Massachusetts, knocking off Mike Capuano, who's been there for 10 terms. And she said the people closest to the pain should be closest to the power. Mm. And I kind of think that's a good philosophy of politics right now.
Yeah.
That the people who are getting beat over the head with it should be the ones that have the biggest say about how things should run.
Absolutely, yeah. We the people are the power that be. I used to say that, there's the powers that thieve, and then there's the powers, and we are those powers. And certainly, I feel when our country was formed, it was formed as an experiment, a two-party system, and of course, Congress was supposed to coin and regulate the money, which was an important idea, not the monarchy, and that was why we fought the revolution. Let's just stick to what I'm talking about without going down why I see that. And then Europe responded with parliamentary systems. Right? And remember, it was founded back when candles and chamber pots were technology of the day. So today what do we have? We have, besides social media, we have blockchain technology. We have ultimately the means to engage the people and to allow them to promote policy directly from the midst of their social groupings, whichever they are. And I would agree with you, the people who are most affected by certain policies or certain economic conditions are the ones who know the best what they need. And I think we can talk about mechanisms to engage policy beyond what we've seen in this state. I know we've had some listening tours, but I'm concerned about that 2-minute limit where you're supposed to reinvent the wheel. And that's something I would really like to engage the state in discussions about what that would look like, and can we do it?
Then what would a more compassionate Vermont look like?
And a more inclusive Vermont. I mean, there's people who are working on something called liquid democracy, which uses a blockchain so that people can vote directly. I mean, these are the ways of the future. And before we make that leap to the new house, as it were, I think it's good to examine them closely and see if they are of use to us. I certainly think a poll, if I were to be elected this season, I would send out a poll to all the constituents, even if it has to take my own money to put in the paper, that's okay, is about a poll, a detailed survey about how the government services are serving them. And I think we need to go to them and see whether they think what is working. And everybody in the state, hopefully, or as many as we can get, to respond, and then from there look at our government and whether we need to increase or decrease, or certainly we can work with the budget about whether we're sending money to out-of-state private prisons, which would not happen in my budget. And of course, we need to use the money in-state for other reasons, but you may have other questions.
Or maintaining small schools around.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, how about you? See what?
That's become a big issue in the campaign, because you talked about schools. That's pretty much the heart and soul of any small community, of whether Putney or Dummerston, where I live, the school is a big part of the identity of the town.
Yeah, and what I would seek to address is, first of all, it's hard to change is interesting enough, shall we say, but if you combine it with a threat of removing somebody's income, then it's almost next to impossible. It's just going to be a fight, and we cannot fight our way to a nurturing economy. So, but my concern is about our school systems, both teachers and children, is they aren't liberated. The teachers are not liberated, and the children are not liberated, and the children are not free to learn from each other because they're so sequestered. The one-room schoolhouse had a lot to offer because children learn by teaching other children and they learn from each other. So I'm really concerned about our compliance-based schools, compliance to tests, compliance to sitting in chairs at a young age, where teachers cannot be as unique as they should be able to be and bring their particular style forward. So that's a huge area. I certainly am totally not excited about a one-size-fits-all or about federal agencies or people who are non-educators writing our school books. It's a huge concern. So.
Well, your opposition to one-size-fits-all anything seems to be, you bespoke government, I think, is what you're supporting. The government saying, "Hey, this doesn't quite fit right. Why don't you let a hem out over here, or a little lower on the legs or something."
Yeah. You remember? Did you go to the tiny house?
I did not, but
there was a woman from Bethel, and she was talking about that from the citizens came a revitalization system effort, and they started a pop-up university. So they did for a week, and this was people just offering courses, people taking it, and that was some years ago, and now it's expanded to the month of March, and people come from all over. Now, we've talked in Putney about that, in the Putney transition movement. So many of us want to share the value of our path to whoever wants to. We're not going to get a teaching degree per se to do it, and people are the debt problem for students. Anyway, you can see where we're going.
But it's the basic each one teach one theory.
Each one teach one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Of just sharing information, and not necessarily in a school setting, but we all have skills to share, I imagine.
Yeah, that was part of your first question about the prison system,
Yeah.
about, can we hire local mentors for those who are nonviolent? I mean, there are so many methods that we can approach our situation and improve it if we agree to try something new. And that's one of my favorite quotes. It's on one of my cards. You want to read it?
That's a good place to kind of get things wrapped up here. We can't. Your inspiration, Albert Einstein, saying we cannot solve our problems using the same thinking that created them.
There you go.
And that's pretty much your campaign philosophy in a nutshell, right there.
There it is. Are we done?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet. But in the time we have left, here's your chance to make a direct appeal to our viewers today, and why Emily Peyton? What would make you a good governor for the state of Vermont?
Well, I've written that on my card, so I don't have to do it off the top of my head. On my card, and incidentally, I'm doing outreach from my bus, and I'll just continue right through the election season, as I said, either as governor or as a future governor. It says, I'm a seasoned activist here to end our current economic policy based on enforced competition, enforced scarcity, and deliberate violence. Why me? Because my intellectual abilities, history, and passions are especially suited for nonviolent political transformation to an economy that nurtures you and sustainability. That's in a nutshell. I could speak to my own foundation in a family of intellectuals, of people who are in academia. My brother-in-law is in the Harvard School of Economics, my eldest sister's husband. And my eldest sister, just this spring, she said to me, she said, Emily, you're one of the smartest people or wisest people, she said, wisest people I know. Do you know what kind of a compliment that is coming from your eldest sister who's you know, because I didn't have the same formative education as I have, as I said, 4 sisters. My parents, my father, my stepmother of 40 years are university professors at the New England Conservatory of Music. They were formerly the chair of the composition department and the vocal department. And I have my next eldest sister was a doctor in hospice. She pioneered as a hospice doctor, and her husband is a radiologist. And my younger sister is, she's a stay-at-home mom with 3 beautiful girls. And she's a faith singer, beginning to get more work as backup singing for faith-based groups. And my youngest half-sister has a second baby in New York City. They're artists. And so
there'll be a lot of invitations for the victory party.
Well, actually, I kind of do it on a down low because my eldest sister is the shyest person of all. She might be so embarrassed that I do anything political. So I try to keep it on a down low and you know, mostly speak about hempcrete and chickens when I'm with my family.
Well, but unfortunately your secret is out because you're here on Brattleboro Community Television telling the world about your candidacy for governor of the state of Vermont. And thank you for being here today. And please go out and vote in November.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.